a few more stories making headlines today. I'll be telling you about them. But Governor is here, Governor of Busia. Thank you so much for being patient, Paul Otuoma.
Yes, Ante.
Unbelievably, the last time I sat with you was 2019.
Yes.
And now you're back. How is Busia County, and have you received the equitable share of revenue that Treasury says that has been dispersed?
Now, Busia, we are fine. We are lucky there's some rain, but on the issue of equitable share, we are still even yet to get the full disbursement for August.
For August?
Yes, as we speak currently. Sometimes they say they have released, but you remember we have got all these requisitions again that need to go through the control of budget.
Yeah.
So as I speak to you now, we still have not been able to...
How are you surviving as a county?
It's terrible. It's tough. It's tough. We are going through...
August, September, October, November. Today is 20th.
Yes.
5 months.
Almost.
So what was John Buddy saying, Treasury CS yesterday?
You know, when you say that you have released and the funds are not available, that's why through the Council of Governors, we were thinking that we need to shut down the counties.
For them to realize there's something terribly wrong.
Because basically we are not able to offer the services that we are supposed to be doing. That's what it really means, just to shut down, instead of us just being there and, we are not able. Mm-hmm. And you remember that there are quite a number of vital functions that the counties are supposed to offer. Yeah. Health, water, agriculture. So if we are not able to do that, it becomes a very big challenge. And that's why we were saying then we can as well just shut down
the counties so that they realize. Shutting down the counties, 47 of them, simply means shutting down the country.
Definitely. Because
how much is your own source revenue, for example?
We are not doing very well. Like in Busia, we are less than 400 million shares.
Less than 400?
Yeah.
This is annual collection?
Yes.
What is the, because I'm looking at payment of recurrent expenditure. What is your recurrent expenditure?
Recurrent expenditure, basically, if you put all of it together, it could be like almost 70% of total budget.
70% of the total budget?
Yes, that means O&M, recurrent salaries and all that.
Okay.
So you'll find that the development budget is just around 30% or so, yeah.
A lot to discuss with the governor tonight. They don't have money. 5 months and counting. I don't know why I thought it's about 4 months. We're coming back to speak to Paul Otuoma. A lot to discuss tonight. But let's go to a neighboring county, to Busia. That's Kakamega, where the law court granted 50,000 shillings bail to Salat Gulie Malim. You remember him? This is a truck driver that killed about 13 people last week on the Kisumu-Kakamega Road. Now, that tragic accident claimed the lives of 13 people when that truck rammed other cars that were stationary and left about 20 nursing serious injuries, as Wanjiko Wanjiru reports.
On Wednesday morning, doors of Nakuru GK prison opened, setting free 61-year-old Mzee Joseph Mutai, who had been serving a 15-year sentence for an alleged rape that occurred in January 2021.
Nilikuja sasa hapa 2021.
Apologies. We will definitely be going back to that story. But to other stories, at least 500 Kenyans in Lebanon have been evacuated back to the country. This is according to the Principal Secretary, Foreign Affairs, Korir Singwe, who maintains that the government is working round the clock to ensure safe return of all citizens. As Ashley Mazuri now reports, Kenya is in the process of reviewing its foreign policy as it marks 60 years of its diplomacy journey.
Kenya is marking 60 years of its diplomatic journey since the establishment of the External Affairs Department in 1963 after gaining independence. Through the years, the country has had major milestones, from the establishment of the United Nations Environment Programme headquarters in 1972 to heading key peacekeeping missions from Iraq, Namibia, Liberia, Sierra Leone and others, with the latest being in Haiti.
Kenya has pursued a policy of friendly relations with other countries. As a result of that, Kenya has developed a doctrine of neutrality, by which it has been therefore able to negotiate and to mediate peace.
Kenya's neutrality in foreign affairs has enabled it forge partnerships in the West and East. In the 60 years, The Kenyan government has crafted a foreign policy profile that is open to investment from anywhere, making it an economic hub and a stable country in a region beset by political instability.
Other key milestone is that one must appreciate the role that foreign affairs plays as a relationship builder that is able to help the country attract foreign direct investment. The way we do that is that we enter into agreements, bilateral investment agreements.
Since President William Ruto assumed office, his foreign policy stance has generated interest, admiration, and criticism in equal measure. His historic state visit to the US in May this year solidified him as a key ally of the West and a leading voice in Africa. Even so, the re-election of Donald Trump could see a shift in the Kenya-US dynamic.
We do not expect a major change in policy, even with the change in leadership in the United States, for the reason that it is our firm belief that the presence of the multinational security mission in Haiti helps or aligns with Trump's vision of dealing with migration.
The unemployment headache pushed the Kenya Kwanza government to export labor. However, the lack of a framework that prioritizes the welfare and interest of Kenyans abroad continues to put a risk to thousands of workers open to abuse, torture, and loss of lives.
The reason why our labor out there is unprotected is because there's no framework by which the two countries have a joint vision and a sense of shared obligation. Kenya is entering into bilateral labor agreements. These agreements spell out the rights and the responsibilities of the countries themselves, but also of our citizens in these countries.
As the country pauses to reflect and rethink its foreign policy, it is hoping former Prime Minister Raila Odinga will clinch the AUC chairmanship to further cement Kenya as a key player in the geopolitical arena. Ashley Mazuri, KTN.
All right, good place also to be back to our discussion because Governor Paul Otuoma from the ODM party, do you think Raila Odinga is going to win AUC?
I have confidence that he's going to win. Even yesterday we were with him last evening, and I think today he has embarked on his tour of West Africa. Okay. And so far I think things are moving in the right direction, and we still wish him well.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's do a little bit of history before we embark on our discussion. Let's take a look at a little bit of history. This is the 20th of November 2016, about 8 years to the day today. And the headline right there, Gideon defends Uhuru Kenyatta over graft. Baringo Senator then says President Kenyatta is a clean man, but lays the blame on corruption squarely on the doorstep of people around the president. That was the headline where the former Baringo Senator defended President then Uhuru Kenyatta over graft allegations. But that's not the only story that made to the headline then, because there was a story about NASA saying they will form the next government, and they vowed as opposition leaders. That's the Ball newspaper. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Today, we're still talking about corruption. In fact, it's one of the things that we expect the president to address tomorrow in Parliament. Back to our discussion. Governor, thank you for waiting up. I'd like to begin there. The State of the Nation address. There are so many priority areas before we go to Busia, and Kenyans want to see a better economy. Kenyans are talking about health. Kenyans are talking about education, and Kenyans are talking about security. This could be broadly areas that the president would touch. As a governor who also gives the state of the county address, what areas do you think the government or the president should concentrate on tomorrow in Parliament?
I think you are putting it correctly. The main issues currently affecting Kenyans is the state of our economy, the state of our health facilities and health delivery systems. And you see, economy is quite cross-cutting because that means there are no jobs. You know, the cost of living, our inflation rates high means we can't afford So basically, as he addresses the state of economy, he must look also at the state of health. Education, education funding is a big issue, is a big problem. The rollout of CBC continues to be a major challenge. Good ideas, but the way we are rolling them out still have got quite a lot of challenges. And I tend to think those should be the key areas. Remember that even as he does that, 1 year down the line, there was the cost of food.
Yeah.
So he should again not lose focus on making sure that we are able to produce food at a cost-effective manner, because that again has a ripple effect on the economy.
Yeah.
If we are not able to produce food at affordable prices, it even becomes more difficult. You remember the riots that were there previously was just because of the cost of food. So there are quite a myriad of issues. I think his plate is full on issues that need to be addressed, and with a clear way on how we are going to overcome some of these things. And I believe they're overcomable if we really concentrate and maybe just manage the politics so that we don't lose focus. Unfortunately, in this country, we spend quite a bit of time and effort on politics rather than solving problems. You get elected today, then tomorrow again you start politics. And that has been a very expensive affair for Kenya. Even if you look in the region, we are losing our competitive advantage just because of that. Look at how Rwanda is going, how Uganda is
because
going,
there's very
how Tanzania is going. Yeah. But here, you get elected today, tomorrow you are back in politics. Look at what has been happening even within the Kenya Kwanza administration. And even the president himself confessed and said for the last 2 years, he has been struggling on his own. So it means that, from the word go, even within yourself, other than the opposition, you are having problems. And this is what maybe in future we need to sort out as a country.
So that after every election, politics need to end. At least for the 4 years.
At least for some time, to allow those who have been given opportunity. Because Kenyans are the ones who vote. So these angels, you elect people today and tomorrow you are disparaging them. It means you also have got a problem.
You have a problem.
Yeah, you are the problem actually. Yeah.
The people Governor, I'm shocked you are not mentioning the government sorting out the issues that are happening in the counties as a matter of priority.
Of course, when I talk about the economy, that's what I mean. I believe we are not able to get resources because there's no money, you know it. And even there are games that are being played. You'll hear like the other day, the minister saying, oh, I have released money. But is that money available? As we speak now, we are still haven't even been able to spend money for August, all of it. We still have got bits and pieces. The one for September, you saw the release schedule was just the other day. It is yet to be processed to even become available. And remember, we have got salaries and recurrent to be paid.
Every single month.
And we are talking that we are almost on 20th of November, which means we should be paying salaries maybe in the course of next week. So even if we are talking that we just is when the schedule for September has been released. Before it gets processed, we'll be in December. How many months are those?
And before you start December, you're in January.
Yeah, and we're in January. And remember, December is a festive month.
So how do you survive in the counties?
It is very difficult. It means then that development suffers because whatever then we have, most of it just goes towards maintaining salaries, maintaining, because remember, the cost of running government remains the same, whether you are doing development or not. So at the end of the day, when development suffers, it is the first casualty because you have to still pay salaries, whatever it is. And if you are paying salaries for people who are not able to work, that's why we were saying we would rather shut down the government so that it is understood that we are not able to deliver on our mandate.
What then do you say at IBEC when you meet the deputy president, for example? I mean, COG can speak as the Council of Governors, but when you meet the presidency, what do you tell them? I mean, it's 5 months.
Those are the issues we really discuss at IBEC, but remember now, I think we are almost going for 2 or 3 months
without IBEC.
Without IBEC because of what has been happening in the country. And that's why I told you that sometimes we are losing focus. We are focusing on the wrong things, and yet service delivery suffers because, in the situation we were in, was IBEC even able to deliver? When you had a vice president who has got his own issues, his focus is not about the country, it's about a region, he's fighting his political battles, how will you be able to deliver?
It's compromise.
Yeah, completely. So what has happened to me, I tend to think may also be, at least gives us opportunity as a country to say we must still move on. Because remember, at the end of the day, we are not going to do elections tomorrow. We'll still maybe have got another 3 or 4 years. So what happens? And yet Kenyans voted. So after voting, does it mean the people you gave mandate again, you want them not to execute?
Governor, this could be part of the reason why there is no money in circulation, because 47 counties represent the 55 million of us.
Yes.
If there's no money circulating in the counties, people are not receiving their salaries and they work in these counties. You can't do any kind of development, and these developments and the county, and this money will trickle down. This is part of the reason why there's no money in this country. As a matter of priority, the government has to choose between paying the recurrent expenditure in the country and ensuring that we don't default as a country. If you are in that position, which is the lesser evil?
To
pay our debts that...
you know, also, as a country, are we ready to default? Because, you know, there are also consequences
of defaulting.
Of defaulting as a country. And, you know, there are countries that have defaulted, Greece and so many others. Now, Kenya as a country, are we really ready to go that way? We are saying, no, we can still sacrifice and, you know, go through the turbulent times that we are going through and maybe be able, you know, to pull ourselves out of this. And I believe it is possible, especially, as I'm telling you, if we focus on the right things.
Yeah.
Because we are having problems. They always say when you're in a hole, don't dig further. But sometimes the kind of activities we do is like we continue to even dig further and further. Remember, country's economy will be as strong as its productivity. So today you'll be asking yourself, if the key sectors, coffee, tea, you know, food production, they are all suffering or they are all having problems, then what is supporting the economy? Education is suffering. The service industry is suffering. What then supports the economy? That's what we should be looking at. Now, are we saying that we cannot reverse that? It is possible. If the counties, we are allowed to make sure that we are able to offer our services as envisaged in the Constitution, that health system is working, education, even at primary levels, they are working, food production and agriculture production is working, because remember, our main contributor to the economy is also agriculture-based. Yeah. We have been saying, oh, we are importing a lot of oil, maybe spending 100 billion to import edible oils. We are saying, oh, we are importing cotton. Like now in our clusters, the 5 counties, we had said we can be able to make sure that we don't import cotton.
Lake Basin.
Yeah, the Lake Basin economic block. We had said we can make sure that we cannot import edible oils, because we can do sunflower, we can do groundnuts to make sure that the country is producing enough raw material. But when we lose focus, then those things we are not able to do them. When the counties are starved of money to be able to support those programs.
But I hear you speaking from both ends of the mouth.
Yeah.
On one end, you're saying there's justification so that we don't risk default. On the other end, you're saying we are frustrated because of lack of funds released to the counties.
But Ken, you know very well that you must still pay your debts, whatever it is. What is a lesser evil? Is it defaulting or not defaulting? But we are saying despite paying, we can still produce enough if we focus to be able to pay our debts and to be able to take this country out of the quagmire that is in. And remember, I mean, we always tell people, some of us served in Kibaki's administration. When he was taking over from Moi, the economy was not doing very well. Remember, that was the time of structural adjustment programs and all that. But he was able to fight with corruption. He was able to give his ministers opportunities.
So Kenya still works?
Yes. And you find that within a short time, even our revenue collection, when he took over, KRA used to collect less than 300 billion. Within a year, you remember, we moved to almost $1 billion.
Yes, 700, 800.
Just the efficiency in the economy. This is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you were sports minister, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Sports minister.
No, I was sports minister. I was minister for fisheries.
Yes.
I was in local authorities. Yeah, I served in a number of them.
Prudent management of resources is one thing that your senator doesn't believe is happening in your county.
Yes.
He believes there's something you're hiding.
Yes.
For example, he asked for documents,
Yes.
the source documents,
Yes.
to audit
Yes.
as a senator of Busia County,
Yes.
your expenditure. And he believes you didn't want to give. In fact, he had to go to court to try and obtain them.
Yes. Now, Ken, I'll ask you truly, does an individual have capacity to really audit the government institutions? Or do we have a system guided by law, just like now when he made a request that he needed the Auditor General, you know, to look into certain affairs? And I thought that would be the right way. You know, as a senator, you are not also, you have got an opportunity through the Senate, you know, to ask questions, because you play an oversight role. And the Senate, either through their committees or through whatever methods that the Senate is mandated to do, they'll be able to inquire and they'll be able to be provided. As we speak here today, does Busia, if today you called the Senate, does Busia has any pending matter within the Senate that we have not responded to? Or even what you are saying, the Auditor General? Because the Auditor General audits all government institutions. He doesn't just audit Busia. So if you need a different template for Busia, then tell the Auditor General.
But what is just wrong with your senator who oversights the county government by asking for those source documents? What is wrong with that?
I may not know the kind of people he asks, because when you ask for government documents that are supposed to be audited, there is a process. Even the Auditor General, when they come, they only have an entry meeting with myself.
What's an entry meeting?
An entry meeting, they come and tell me, you know, this is what we are in the county. We are looking forward to working with the various institutions. We'll be needing support from these various departments. We need this kind of people to facilitate this kind of processes, and you are able to have a meeting and make sure those people are there. But you see, oversight and supervision, to me, sometimes I find there's a difference, because I've had opportunity to work on both sides of government. I've been a member of Public Investment Committee. Yes, and Parliament consumes reports from the Auditor General. That's why in the current wisdom, before when we were there, the ESCC never used to sit in, DCI never used to sit in, but we borrowed some of the best jurisdiction in other countries to say now, as watchdog committees, why don't we have government investigative bodies also sit in, so that when they pick up something that is of criminal nature, that needs further investigation, then those are the government institutions that are mandated. Today, if you went to DCI, would you find any documentation that they are looking for this? If you went to ESCC, what maybe the senator wants and what ESCC wants, are they in sync? You get? Because these bodies sit. And if you want to say now, this is something that borders on criminality and it must be investigated, then they have got the prerequisite resources to be able to look into those. But today, all of us cannot convert ourselves into government agencies that we are not. And sometimes I tend to find this is where there is a disconnect. Sometimes you come and just tell me that I'm looking for this document. Now, how do I go to a junior office and start saying, give me this document? These documents must be processed. Sometimes you even don't know, like a document, an activity that is still even work in progress. You want it.
But this auditor's report should be online, in my view. It should already have been publicized or published. And the fact that there were queries at the Senate. This document should be available. This auditor's report should be available, plus supporting documents. So what was so hard, because I assume they're already there, so what was so hard by asking for additional documents that you have presented as a county before the Senate?
There's nothing difficult. That's why I'm saying some of these things, to me, I hear them as allegations. Because if you look at the way the Senate operates and under the Constitution, oversight is through the Senate. And what you do, the clerk of the assembly will write to county governments and say, you know, within a certain period, you'll be required to appear before the relevant committee, not just the Public Accounts Committee. You can appear before Education Committee, Agriculture Committee, depending on the matter at hand. And that is how that matter then becomes what they say it is owned by the House. So if you go to the Senate today, will you find these things you are talking about that are matters before the Senate that Busia County has not responded to?
Issue is not even with the governor. Issue is with the Auditor General. Because the question then is, there are questions that I've asked about that audit report. But when you look strictly at the auditor's report, and if I had time, I would show you some areas. There are questions that you may ask, how did the Auditor General pass this report as is?
Now, that's a very good thing you are saying. But I'm also asking you, you are a member of the Senate. You have got right and mandate within the Senate to request for that information and interrogate that information before the relevant...
From who? Request for that information from who?
From the counties. Because the clerk of the Senate will write. When he writes, then you have to prepare. Whatever the Auditor General needs to respond to, that is their affair. But whatever matters that you want the counties to respond to, then the counties will also respond to.
So why did we need to go to court?
now that is the issue.
Why did
on one issue, you will find on one issue, you are before ESCC, you are before DCI.
As a county?
Yes, you are in the court, you are in the Senate, over the same matter.
Everyone is asking questions.
No, I'm just saying, because then that starts being a problem. Because you now start saying, are we really looking at how best to improve governance issues, or are we just a litigas, you know?
Society,
whereby like nothing should move. Because if it is the Auditor General, if you look at the way the Senate works, they will write, and the particular senator for a particular county will always get a copy to say, you know, we have made this inquiry to the county over this matter. CC the senator. So now when we go before a committee and you are telling us that you have not seen the document, and your own clerk is saying, no, we have copied you this document. Now we as a county, how do we get involved? And you have called us. Yeah. So now these Auditor General reports are not things, they are done over the year. So
like the one in question is 2022-2023.
Yes. And you remember we had even come in and answered the other ones, because government is a going concern. You'll never come in and say, oh, you know, I was not there.
Now the question is, after going to court, as the CJ said, we'll empanel, the auditor comes with, and I know you'll tell me I can ask the auditor this question.
Yes.
What is called comprehensive performance audit? What is this? Comprehensive, because it looks like we have an audit report, then we request for documents, then you don't want to give documents, then you say, no, wait first, because one of the answers that the senator says he got is, why didn't you wait for us to be audited, then take the report from the auditor, which is procedural, right? But I just don't see why I should not give, if there's nothing I'm hiding, I should not give.
No. There is not an issue about hiding.
What is the issue?
The issue here is how the institution of the Senate should work.
So you're saying let's go with the institution, not individuals?
No, because as an individual, sometimes, even in the Senate, according to the standing orders, they will always tell you to declare your interests. And you must separate your interests.
And this is a very bold interest because you are the senator.
Yeah, you are the senator, but you are a senator and you are also a politician. That's why they will always tell you to declare your interests. And your interests should be declared in a way that what you are doing, you are carrying out your duties as a senator. Separate them. Because remember, just let me tell you,
go ahead,
you know, one thing about my senator, and I have a lot of respect for him, remember that he also comes from a different world. Even when he was not a senator, he was involved in a lot of these investigative matters and all that. Now, sometimes where do you draw a line? Like you see when you come in and say that 4 billion shillings has been misappropriated, and you know, you are mentioning people's names, and you have got a forum in the Senate where you can bring that matter, and you know, you document, and in the Senate, according to the procedures, they'll tell you, you cannot make an unsubstantiated thing. They'll tell you to produce the evidence. But you see, when you are just making bold claims, broad claims, how do we deal with that? If I'm appearing before the committee, and we are saying, this is the report of the auditor, which role do I play?
This same senator one time claimed that his life is in danger, and I think he put this on your doorstep. Are you after Okia Mtata's life?
Now, those are the kind of things I'm telling you that are wild allegations. Because if you have got an issue like that and your life is in danger, they are investigative bodies. Why haven't you gone to the investigative bodies to do their role? I'm even told that there was a case, I just had it on these talk shows, that there was a case that was supposed to be in Busia, and because of security issues, it has been moved to Nairobi. I mean, honestly, are we dealing with a different Kenya? Is Busia not part and parcel of Kenya?
Was there a case though?
That's what I'm wondering, because I know we have so many cases. So I'm wondering now, which one has been moved to Busia, to Nairobi? Which one is about the government? Which one is about the individual? And which ones are in his rightful role as a senator? Because remember, as a senator, he has got certain inalienable rights to oversight. But also as a Busia resident, he may also raise other matters that go beyond him being a senator. So we cannot combine those two things. In his role as a senator, we must respect and make sure that we facilitate completely. But in another role as a citizen, then we also have got also rights. Are you getting me? To say you have come, you are asking for these documents, like you have seen in some cases, where a senator goes to a county whereby he comes from that county, and you start demanding for things from there. You want this, you want this. Yet the rules of engagement are clear.
Article 34, right to information.
You have got, You have, but now, are you doing that as a senator? Or as you have got a platform?
Yeah.
Are you getting it?
Okay.
Or as an individual?
So that's where you draw the line, Governor. You have a platform.
Yes.
Do it within the institution.
Do it within the institution so that there is order. You know, I would really also want, maybe he's also pointing out things that I have not seen. And remember, as I told you, I've been a member of parliament. I've been a member of the Watchdog Committee. So I know the role that Watchdog Committee plays. And there are also so many other departmental committees that not necessarily you have to wait for the auditor's report. Through the departmental committees, you can summon the Department of Agriculture
and
to say, you know, we want to know what is happening. Because that also just looks at efficiency of government. It looks at how things are happening. So you are not just waiting for the Auditor General's report. You can go to the department, the Committee on Education, can summon our Department of Education to look into matters of education. But Department of Education will not go into agriculture, because there's that order in the Senate. Now, if you find Department of Education summoning our Department of Agriculture, there must be something that is not correct. Are you getting me? So this is what I'm trying to say, that we just need an orderly way. And I want to re-emphasize, for my senator in his role as a senator, I will support him 100% to play his role. But we must also now reach a point where we say now, is this an individual issue? Is it a personal matter? You get it, the way it is being conducted. Now that one sometimes becomes difficult, because you also then have to exercise some discretion. Are we in a position to do this? Can't these same matters be, handled within the Senate? Can't these same matters be handled by EACC? After all, you have taken us there. Can't these same matters be handled in court? Because you have got a right to do that. But some of us, we are saying, you have got a platform.
Use the platform.
Use that platform.
You brought the issue of 4 billion. And one of the things that the senator said here is that your county, for example, has no pending bill, because if you look at the figures as given, you have paid an upwards of 44 million in excess of the pending bills.
Now, what do you want to believe? Is it his allegation as an individual, or is it the reports that are before the House, that have been audited by the Auditor General? They are before the Senate. The Senate committee has looked at them.
Does the Senate have a problem with Busia?
That's why I'm saying.
Does the Senate committee have a problem?
We don't have any problem. And even him as a senator, we don't have any problem. We only have problem with these allegations. Because now, with that kind of allegation, if you went today to the Senate to counter-check, or if today you checked with the Auditor General, will he be saying that Busia has got no pending bills? When we said that KRA is demanding maybe 700 million shillings from us, will you go there and say that we don't have money owed to KRA or Lab Fund or Lab Trust? Oh, yeah? Will you go there? And those are public figures. They're there.
And that's
if we say that in the audited reports of 2021, even before I came into power, we had pending bills of almost 2.7 billion. Will you now want to tell me that those things
disappeared once
they just disappeared? Those reports are null and void? If you did the audit reports for 2021, 2022, they are null and void. And they are reports of the House. So now this other allegation, even within the way the Senate conducts its matter, they'll tell you, you must have substance. You must substantiate what you are doing. Now, we must abandon then what the Auditor General has said. We must abandon what the Senate has said and take an individual's report. Because to me, my senator, I'll respect him to say, through the Senate, we have been asked this question. Have we been satisfied? When we are not, they will always ask us to either come back or give further information. Now,
has that happened?
It happens.
Because to my knowledge, he said that I don't even want the governor to come here and respond to these audit queries. I want the Auditor General to come and tell us how this passed. For example, I don't know how he accessed the IFMIS vote book. I don't know. I don't know how he accessed. But he says this. There are charges there, for example, the tea and mandazi in your office has been inflated 3 times.
Now, if
to
you
19, from 3 million to 19.
You see, if you make that kind of allegations, we don't have tea and mandazi in my office. You get what I'm trying to say? That's what I'm saying. So I would also be keen and interested to see. Yeah, because we don't have. With the kind of economic situation we are in, when we are just struggling.
You don't buy your stuff?
Where do we do it? Apart from
so maybe when this budget of 3 million.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm also be interested to see it. Because other than maybe you have visitors or you have something, and you have some catering services. But to say that me, I'm supplied tea and mandazi
for 3 million
as an individual.
For 3 million.
How?
Governor, I want one more specific one. The renovation of the governor's lounge, for example. I looked at the dates.
Yes.
They were done. It was approved. The contract was approved before June ended, 29th, and I think by 30th they had paid. How did that happen?
It has not been paid. Now those are the kind of
it's not happened.
Look at the auditor's report. It has not been paid. Are you getting? As we speak, some of those projects are even court issues. Now this is why I'm telling you these are just wild allegations. It has not been paid. Even whoever may have raised that thing, we said no. Yeah, these are matters before court. These are matters being investigated. But when you come and say this has been paid,
okay.
Yeah, and that's why I'm telling you, my brother, let us be neat. Let us say, because I know when you prosecute these matters before the Senate, then there are procedures that ensure materiality and even the evidence that you give. But you see, when we now move away from that and we want to deal with an individual in an individual cup and make wild allegations.
The problem is, Governor, because
there's a
problem between Governor and Senator.
And it's not just unique to Busia. The problem is that we must respect the institution of the Senate and we must adhere to the standing orders and the law. That's what we need to do, so that we are accountable. And when you want to be a citizen and also play your role as a citizen, you must also then draw the line. Because as a senator, there are certain entitlements that the law gives you and the Constitution.
Exactly.
But as an individual, you don't have those rights of the Senate when you act outside
the Senate.
The Senate.
Okay.
You are then an individual.
So if the
just
Senate,
like even me, I'm a governor, but I have my private life.
Okay.
I've got my private issues. There are things I can be sued as a Busia government, but there are things I can also be sued as in my personal capacity. So let us not mix those things.
So what you're telling me tonight is that the Senate has not summoned you to answer to these queries in the Auditor General's report 2022-2023.
Nothing. Other than the report that we went in and they stepped it down.
What is the reason?
They stepped it down because my senator came in.
Because he wants...
Yeah, he wants additional.
Yeah.
And then in the wisdom, and then I said to me, since he's talking about the Auditor General, in the wisdom, we didn't raise any objections. But remember, we had come with a report that was before the House. And according to our rules and expectations, I cannot direct the Auditor General. I also just see the report. The Auditor General is supposed to be independent.
Okay.
I can't direct them. Otherwise, then what would be the purpose of auditing us? So I just go with what the Auditor General has produced. So if I'm before the committee and we are supposed to answer,
it's in the report.
It is in the report.
But don't you think there could be problem also with the report from the Auditor General? Do you think it's just flawless?
But the Auditor General audits the whole of Kenya. So is it just unique to Busia? So and remember, the Senate is the Senate of the Republic of Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, there's somebody who was just the other day impeached because of, instead of acting on behalf of Kenya, was acting on behalf of region.
I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I'm just telling you. So the Senate, the Senate is the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Okay. It's not the Senate of Busia. Okay. Busia is just a subset of one county within Kenya. So we cannot have different rules. If the Auditor General has got problems, then you cannot tell me that those problems are only specific to Busia. We should then be interrogating how the audits are done.
Okay.
And the Senate should be doing that. Okay. Because so many other counties also go there. So many other government entities. Remember, the Auditor General audits all government entities. Not just counties, all government entities. So, and they must be having standards they use.
So there are no queries in Busia. That's what you're saying.
The queries will be according to the report produced by the Auditor General. An individual, if he has got issues, as I said, there are avenues to ask further questions in the Senate. There are avenues for ESCC. There are avenues to be taken to court the way we have been taken. But now, today, we are in court over some of those matters. Is it the Senate that has taken us to court?
Good question.
You're a lawyer.
Good question.
Is it the Senate that has taken us to court? Are we in court with the Senate? Are we in ESCC with the Senate?
Good question.
So that's why I'm telling you, we must separate the role of the Senate and an individual.
Okay.
Yeah. And where my senator is playing his role as a senator, I will support him fully. But where he's also now playing his role as a citizen of Busia, as a Kenyan, he's just subject like any other Kenyan.
Like me coming to Busia to
you will not be asking me to incriminate myself and you're just an individual.
Okay.
I mean, it's the natural linear of justice, and you're, as I said, you have got a legal mind. Just ask yourself, has the Senate of Kenya taken Busia County to court? Anywhere? Has the Senate raised anything that is outside what is there? But we are in court with my senator, who also happens to be Okia, but we are in court with him as Okia, not as the Senate. Not as the Senate. Because as a senator, then the matter should have come through the Senate. And remember, DCI sits in the Senate. ESCC sits in the Senate. Have these organs picked anything from the Senate to come out here and say, now, from the Senate, we are having this matter?
Kenyans will argue, as I let you go, Kenyans will argue that Okia always finds a smoking gun and goes to court and finds...
And that's what I said, we must draw a line. Because to me, I tend to think that he has played that role. Now, if he's mixing these two roles, we must also be able then to draw the line.
Governor, you have had a long day. I called you all the way from Busia in Nairobi. I need to let you go. But thank you so much for coming. Issues were raised on this table. I had to deal with them.
Thank you.
I had to deal with them. Thank you so much.
I mean, we are Kenyans. We are an open society. We have got a very progressive constitution. We are open. But we are also saying, as we do this, let's build institutions, not destroy institutions. Yeah, because remember, we must safeguard the Senate's dignity. Just like we are saying, we must also support the counties to continuously improve their systems, institutions, so that they're able to offer better services.
I'm just thinking from the top of my mind, if you were to deal with someone, it's easy to deal with an individual than a whole Senate.
Who?
You understand? If you were to sort out a matter, it's easier to deal with Ken as an individual than a whole institution. So you will not go the Senate way. I'm not trying to say anything.
No. But I would rather, because I believe that we should build institutions. Yeah, and I have been a member of all these institutions. I've been in the cabinet, I've been in the watchdog committees, in the assembly, and I'm now on this other side as a governor. So I tend to think that what we can bequeath to Kenyans is to build strong institutions that will stand the test of time and serve Kenyans. And this is what I'm looking up to. So today, somebody can be a whistleblower. Maybe he has seen something I have not seen. But I'm saying then we just need also to follow the rules of engagement to say now, let us investigate.
Not as a technicality.
Yeah, but not to come in and start saying that Busia County has got a problem with the Senate. I don't have any problem with the Senate because we are complying with everything.
A good place to end our discussion tonight.
Thank you.
Asante sana, Governor. As I let the Governor go, there are other stories making headlines. Now, the Law Society of Kenya, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and various civil society groups have raised concerns over the rising number of abductions in the country, citing recent cases involving the Ugandan opposition leader, Kizza Besigye. By the way, Governor, what do you think about the arrest of Kizza here? And then being charged in Uganda, just briefly.
I tend to think that is not fair because for political reasons, political refugees or people who are seeking political asylum must be protected. And I remember one day talking to President Museveni when we were with Raila. And he said when Raila was moving out of Kenya, he knew where he was in the lake.
And he protected
and he protected him because he said it was a matter of conscience, a political conscience. It's not criminal. So to do that is wrong. Even those people they have been abducting here from Turkey and all that, that is not right. For political conscious people who are trying to seek refuge in the country, they must feel safe.
They must be protected.
But if it is something of criminal nature, it's a different matter. But political, I think then we are not doing the right thing.
Here's the story.
Since the president was sworn in, the wave of extrajudicial killings, abductions, torture, disappearances, arbitrary arrests, the criminalizations of the rights and freedoms to assembly, expression, media, association, demonstration, and petitioning of government authorities have all escalated uncontrollably. In one sentence, this administration has turned Kenya into a police state.
This regime has also regularized and also internationalized the culture of abductions and enforced disappearances. Again, it also shows how this government has no commitment to the national and the international human rights obligations we have talked about.
We demand that the judiciary must raise up to give the Constitution its essence and substance in achieving the objects of nation building, state accountability, and the rule of law. The judiciary sits in a special place in the protection of sovereignty and supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law. It serves based on the Constitution. Training and experience of judges benefit from extensive protection under the Constitution in terms of tenure, decisional independence, financial independence, and administrative security.
Now to some very progressive news, because President William Ruto has pledged 100 million shillings to address the alarming cases of gender-based violence across the country. Speaking at State House in Nairobi during a meeting with women leaders, the president announced that the funds will support a nationwide awareness campaign as part of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, as Jeff Kirui reports.
And whom you are representing, the organization outcomes, which is actually the report. Declaration and platform for action plus 30, showing the benefits that comes with being a member of the party. I ran for it.
We need to do more in terms of mainstreaming the women agenda in political processes and in public administration. I need to also urge the women in Kenya. Politics is about organization. To better organize yourselves politically.
Ukiangalia katika masuala ya bunge, tuko na idadi ya wanawake wengi. Senate tuko na wanawake wengi kilinganishwa na serikali zilizotangulia. So it is a journey. Challenges are there, but I encourage you to register, empower our sisters, and let's educate them.
Let's reduce the amount of work that women do, so that we can give them an opportunity to engage in other economic activities that will contribute to GDP considerably.
And this is sad for me because it's about my alma mater, Moi University, where the Vice Chancellor, Professor Isaac Kosgei, was today questioned for more than 7 hours by the officers from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission at the Commission's North Rift Valley office. Now, the VC had been invited to respond to allegations of corruption and misappropriation of funds, which have led to a disruption of academic activities in one of the country's most prestigious universities. Clement Masombo reports.
What are your expectations? What are your expectations?
On Wednesday, Moi University Vice-Chancellor Professor Isaac Kosgei appeared before the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC in Eldoret to record a statement of allegations of corruption and misappropriation of public funds at the institution. EACC in its letter addressed to the Vice-Chancellor, who is both the CEO and accounting office of the university, requested that he appears in person at the Commission's North Rift offices. During the session, the VC addressed allegations concerning 11 tenders, all of which the Commission claims were procured through irregular procedures. Some of the tenders include the proposed construction of the School of Public Health, Dentistry and Nursing at a cost of 726 million shillings, the proposed Phase 2 construction of the library at the Annex campus for 1.1 billion shillings, and electric installation works for Phase 2 of the library at a cost of 169 million shillings, among others. EACC has recorded 59 witness statements so far. The Commission spokesperson Eric Ngumbi says that the outcome of the investigations will guide on the necessary legal actions against persons found guilty. Additionally, the Commission has invited 4 members of the University Council for questioning next week. The invited members include Dr. Humphrey Njuguna, the Council Chair, Professor Clara Simiji Momanyi, Council Member, Mr. Charles Obiero, a representative of the Ministry of Education, and Mr. Isaac Memusi, a representative of the Treasury. Clement Masombo, KTN News.
A few questions from the people of Busia, and I'll be asking them before we end the show. But before I ask the questions, because I need to let him go, Kenyans joined the rest of the world in commemorating 35 years since the adoption of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child or Children. However, this comes against a stark backdrop. Now, Kenyan children remain vulnerable, often within environments meant to nurture and protect them. Catherine Imuraget reports.
According to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, children in the country face significant threats, including sexual assault, systemic abuse, and legal marginalization, undermining their safety and development. Speaking in Nakuru County, First Lady Rachel Ruto underscored the importance of safeguarding the rights and future of every child in the country.
Our focus is clear: to ensure every child in Kenya has the opportunity to learn, thrive, and dream free from the burdens of hunger and malnutrition.
Speaking at the United Nations offices in Nairobi, Chief Justice Martha Koome called for urgent reforms to address these pressing issues.
What we have done in the judiciary is to set up special court users committees for children in every court station so that they can follow through these cases when they come. We have also tried to give priority to these matters by setting up specialized gender-based courts.
She revealed that in 2023 alone, courts proceeded over 16,000 child-related cases, including 1,875 involving children in conflict with the law, emphasizing the need for families and communities to play an active role in child protection, warning of a troubling trend of violence and exploitation targeting vulnerable children. Despite these challenges, Kenya has made notable progress in child welfare. UNICEF data highlights significant achievements. Stunting rates dropped from 26% in 2014 to 18% in 2022. Under 5 mortality rates fell from 115 to 47 deaths per 1,000 lives births over the same period. Primary school enrollment reached 98% by 2020. The prevalence of female genital mutilation declined from 38% to 15%. However, emerging threats such as climate change, economic instability, and technological disruptions continue to jeopardize children's well-being. Catherine Imuraget, KTN News.
All right, it's about a minute to the top of the hour. We asked you earlier the priority areas that you want the president to address, and you have spoken. Tomorrow is the State of the Nation. We begin to broadcast as early as 7 a.m. right here, and we will have panels across the day who will be talking about this. Just one response there, then I go to the governor and we close the show. Please let the president know that the Minister of Education since 2023, money meant for readers of grade 7 and 8 in both Swahili and English, which is usually retained at the Ministry HQ for KICD to deliver books up to date, 2 years down the line, they have not been received. I think he's talking about, or she's talking about the education areas. And there's one here, address abduction. Alex says address economy and security. And Colin says president should prioritize fighting of corruption. Governor, as we end the show tonight, there are also 2 questions from your constituents or from your county. One, they want to know why you haven't tarmacked a road that is in your home area. I think that's corruption if you went to your home area directly. And then secondly, they're saying, how do you help the people from the sugar sector 5 years down the line? They're yet to receive their dues as we end the show.
Thank you. Let me start with the last one. You are aware that the president just signed that sugar bill. Now it's now an act, and some of the issues that were there were about an issue where the farmers deliver their cane, then they are able to be paid. If there is a specific issue, because in Busia we don't have government-owned sugar companies, we have got individual companies that we can look into. Especially now on the backdrop that we have this sugar act that has just been signed into law. On the second issue about that road from Siopo to Nangina, that is part of the road that they call the ring road. The ring roads were supposed to go around the whole of Lake Victoria, and they were supported by partners. Now, partly in Kenya, they have been done, but in Busia, some places have not been done. Also in Homa Bay, you remember the other day, in Uganda, they have done it. So the major problem that we are also facing is this stalemate that you have been seeing at the assembly. This road maintenance levy. If we are not able to get money that is coming for road maintenance, as counties, and yet those roads we are supposed to maintain them.
How do
we are crippled with what I just said, even the kind of funding.
Okay.
But if that road maintenance levy came to us, then some of the roads that had been classified as county roads will be having enough resources, you know, to maintain them. But in absence of that, it becomes a problem. So whatever little money you have, when you say that maybe I'm targeting to do 50 kilometers maybe of tarmac, that means you will be doing very well to do even 10 kilometers of tarmac per county. You get the kind of disgrace that we are going through. And that's why we are saying we need more resources. The other day, as I said, this stalemate in between the Senate and the National Assembly is not worth it. You know, you are stalemating over 20 million shillings.
20 billion.
Yeah, 20 billion shillings only in almost a 3 trillion economy. And this is money that is going directly to service delivery to the people. Now, when again, we also seem to be having issues between the members of the assembly and the counties by saying you need certain resources for yourselves. And yet we are the ones expected to be doing those roads. So you find that money was taken back, removed from the counties and given to members of the assembly through KERA and KURA. And yet those are supposed to be actually devolved functions, because we are the ones who run municipalities. We are the ones who are doing rural roads. But the funds are still retained here. This is where we are saying that funds must follow functions. Don't give us functions and you're not giving us funds.
The money. A good place to end. Governor, thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing with us. And I hope that the counties will be sorted soon. Thank you for watching. My name is Ken Mijungu. Remember, tomorrow is the State of the Nation address. Under Article 132 of the Constitution, the President will address the National Assembly at least once every year and at any other time. That's where we end the show tonight. On behalf of the whole team that have been here throughout the night and producing everything you have on air tonight, have a good night. God bless. We get another opportunity to do this, we do it. I'll be here tomorrow sitting in for my colleague Ashley Mazuri. Have a good night.